It's not a horrible thing to go see what your friends and family are doing. It's just not good if you think about the fact that there are 8 billion people making content and one of you in 24 hours in a day. There is never a finite end point where you have officially seen all the things.
TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, they all have their feeds. They're all literally endless and they're designed to be as addictive as possible. So like we're flipping that. How do we redesign these apps so that you spend the least amount of time possible? You shouldn't have to see the feed unless you choose to see it. The second thing is that feed should not be endless.
There's this idea of isolation versus inoculation. So over the last 50 to 100 years, isolation has long been a very, very accepted version of protection. Like we isolate from things that are harmful from us. All or nothing, 0 or 100, right? Or 0 or 1. Saying just turn it off. I find your approach very interesting because the opposite of isolation, it's called inoculation, which is like the vaccines do it, right? Within that methodology of, well, can we find a way to use it and use it in a way that's healthy? If I literally have to lock myself out of social media to not use it, that says something about my interaction, which in social media is actually micro messaging, right? So instead of giving you one long, well-developed thing that you can then sit and interact with, you get it in 10-second blurbs that you're really not processing. I don't think we all dream of like scrolling on Instagram for all our free time. No one grows up and says, my dream is to consume every single thing everyone posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like no one wants it, but there is something we want from Instagram. I'm like, well, I think it's connection with other people. I think we're all a little lonely. And I think what technology can be is not the same as what it is, which is kind of sad. Like I see a lot of dissonance between what people want it to be and what it actually is in their lives. The algorithm is giving me exactly what I want more of, but it's not giving me what I consciously want more of. But it's hard because I think that humans are constantly in battle between what their conscious and subconscious wants. And I think algorithms are better at picking up what the subconscious wants. My goals around technology are to be a producer, not a consumer. And so my ratio of production and consumption is in balance. For me, vitality is like, it is energy. Like it's energy and ambition. So there's like a physical element to it. There's also a mental health element to it. Because if I feel anxious or stressed, I don't always want to engage with that right now. We could all bury our phones. We could all opt out of social media. But there is actually a key benefit to them all. We need to put some controls on our interaction with this technology. Like you never get on your phone planning to be there for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm making these trade-offs. And for some reason, I wasn't willing to go read a book and I was going on my phone. Either way, 30 minutes passes. I could have read a book. And I just sat here on my phone. I think we often use social media as a pseudo-rest. It's an escape, but there's no rest.
So we're building intention, and intention is the mission of the company is to make technology serve humanity again, and
Wait, say that one more time.
is to make technology serve humanity again.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I just went on a deep dive this weekend on the intersection between humanities and technologies, so I'm already obsessed with everything you're doing.
Love it. Well, we'll see which parts intersect and which parts don't. Essentially, I feel like I've spent a long time thinking about like what is wrong with the modern world. There's like something very wrong, like something that you feel like in your soul, not to sound super cheesy, but like that I feel like a lot of people experience where there's just like this deep sense of
Yeah.
something that's just like, we're missing so many things in society, like true peace of mind, like introspection, time to reflect and process our thoughts. We have like information overload. And that's just kind of like the aspect of like us constantly being like influxed with notifications and messages and social media and all this stuff. We
Sure.
could go into a whole separate conversation too about like the absence of community and absence of
Sure.
nature and sunlight. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's a whole collection of things that are
Yeah.
missing. And the parts that I feel like I'm really focusing on right now are more like kind of that information overload and kind of like that sense of peace of mind and having time to introspect and like live an intentional life. So that's kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
where that first anchor point is going to be for intention.
Cool.
The big picture is like we want to create an operating system that helps you manage your attention. So that's like big
Okay.
picture.
Operating system. There's
Yeah,
the big scale operating system like an OS or like a
sure.
phone operating system. You could
Yeah,
also use operating system as a metaphor. So what is your definition of operating
that
system?
is, it is more along the metaphor lines. I think what I mean by that is essentially we want to completely rethink how we interact with our everyday devices, like include from our phones to like our computers, and try to essentially redesign everything to be exactly the opposite of how it is now. So let's take like social media, for example. TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, they all have their feeds. They're all
Yeah.
literally endless and they're designed to be as addictive as possible. What they're trying to optimize is they want you to spend the most time on their app as possible. And so like we're flipping that. We're like, all right, how do we redesign these apps so that you spend the least amount of time possible?
Sure.
So that the app doesn't get in the way of what you want to do and just helps you get in and get out and do exactly what you need to do.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking
Yeah.
like if we take the feed, first of all, like you shouldn't have to see the feed unless you choose to see it. When you open LinkedIn, the first thing that you see should not be the feed. There should be like a choice whether you want to open it or not. The second thing
Mhm.
is that that feed should not be endless. Like we're literally trying to wage war on endless scrolling. It should, I know this sounds like such a stupid thing,
No, it doesn't sound stupid.
but like literally just adding an endpoint to a feed, I feel like would make such a big difference to people.
That's a really interesting concept I haven't heard because yeah, definitely like it's not a horrible thing to go see what your friends and family are doing. It's just not good when you if you think about the fact that there are 8 billion people making content and one of you in 24 hours in a day, which means you actually it is impossible for you to complete like you will never end. There is never a finite end point where you have officially seen all the things. It seems like you're looking at some kind of operating system that like gives you very directed intentional interactions with social media. So instead of something like a brick, like have you heard of brick?
Yeah, yeah. I actually talked to two people recently that actually use it and they say that they love it. So,
I have a brick.
oh, dude, hell
Um,
yeah. Okay. Tell me about it.
oh, well, I really like the brick. So the
Yeah.
brick is a different approach to what you're doing because the brick is like I touch the thing, it's like turn off, and it locks me out of all the things I choose to lock me out of, right? Which
Mm,
for me is pretty much anything social or anything media based. Um, like the brick is okay. So there's this idea in I don't know where it's from. It's in my book, but basically, this idea of isolation versus inoculation. So, over the last 50 to 100 years, isolation has long been a very, very accepted version of protection. Like, we isolate from things that are harmful from us. So, oftentimes, people, especially older generations, because this was very prevalent in the 1950s to 2000s, because that's what my book is studying, isolation was used as a way, a method of control and a method of like protecting us from messaging. The problem with social media in the 2000s, the shift that happened at that period, is that isolation became it was no longer effective as a method of controlling information our young people are getting. And so I feel like things like brick are still leaning into very old approaches of isolation, which is to say just turn it off and you can't have it. And even places like Utah where I moved from are still really approaching technology from an isolation standpoint, which is just turn it off altogether, all or nothing, 0 or 100, right, or 0 or 1, saying just turn it off. If you just don't look at it you won't have it. So I find your approach very interesting because the opposite of isolation, it's called inoculation, which is like the vaccines do it, right? Within that methodology of, well, can we find a way to use it and use it in a way that's healthy? Like, can we just do a little bit of it? Can we build techniques and tools and habits to be able to better manage it? Because the problem with isolation is it's a little more, it enables addicts because you're either all or nothing, but there's never a skill set being developed to be able to actually handle and process and actually make healthy decisions around it. Because me, if I literally have to lock myself out of social media to not use it, that says something about my interaction. That says that I'm addicted because I am saying that this thing is harmful to me and I'm going to click it anyway, right? And I actually need to be completely isolated because I do not have the skill set to manage it. So your approach is very interesting because I think it's a very modern like approach or a very innovative approach to bringing that inoculation mindset to social media, which says, hey, there is a version of this that can be healthy because I think as people like in our generations, like I think we've all accepted like, yeah, we could all bury our phones, we could all opt out of social media, but there is actually a key benefit to them all. Like we have LinkedIn for a reason. It's not like it's just for fun. You know what I mean? Like I have a business, you have a business, like access to people and information is actually very, very powerful, especially for like business owners and people who are trying to build things for themselves. It gives us access to economy and to people and to money and to all these things. However, how do we live in that world and have an approach that lets us build healthy habits to interact in the world, but not completely withdraw, so we can get the benefits of this deep connection and access to information and ideas, but somehow still address the fact that it is addictive, and so we need to put some controls on our interaction with this technology, which is really just our interaction with this deep, deep, deep pool of content by other people, which in social media is actually micro messaging, right? So instead of giving you one long, well developed thing that you can then sit and interact with, you get it in 10-second blurbs that you're really not processing. You're never actually engaging with or
Mm,
producing out of. So, like, for example, I might be swiping and then one thing is like, buy this. I just read a poem. It's in the other room, and it was like a poem about scrolling Instagram, and it was like, buy this thing and you should have it. War in Palestine. Buy this thing. My children are starving. But I'm never sitting with Palestine long enough to actually say, what is happening in Palestine? What do I think about Palestine? Should I have an action about Palestine? All I'm doing is just message, these micro messages, never lasting long enough for me to engage on any of them. So I can never do the human thing, which is to say, engage, produce, create, and influence the world. I'm never going to sit. Some people do, but like I'm not sitting and writing a piece on Palestine, which might produce value for my friends and family that showcase my perspectives and engage with the world. So I'm never engaging, and so I've just like shifted into a constant state of dissociation and never engagement. Anyways,
mm.
that's my spiel.
Based on our first conversation, I feel like I knew I was going to learn something new and this was going to be amazing. And I feel like I'm already finding out to be true. You literally just gave me the exact terms that I've been looking for, like inoculation and isolation, because basically the way I've been describing this is I've been using a cookie jar analogy, uh,
Okay, yeah, that's a good
which I
analogy.
think is, is probably more accessible in terms of like if we're not trying to get too technical with the fancy
Yeah, I
terms. But
mean, vaccines are controversial and stuff.
what's it? Oh, well, I mean, not even about that, but just like I feel like there's always like an academic way to talk about something, and then there's always like a simpler message, right? But
Right.
the analogy that I've been using is essentially that I feel like social media today is crack-laced cookies. So
Oh,
it's basically like, they're just literally designed to be addictive. And, it's like, I mean, to some extent, I mean, we can talk about like, what's personal responsibility in terms of like, should we just like learn to have self-control versus like, how much it's actually just kind of like a drug. But that's besides
right.
the point. I guess what I'm trying to say is that like, if you think of social media as crack-laced cookies, like isolation in your example is basically like the brick is like, let's create a lockbox for our crack lace cookies. So either you can
Right.
open it or you cannot. And I feel like a lot of the existing solutions are also like for example, like screen time trackers are essentially like analytics on how many crack lace cookies you've eaten. Like,
Yeah, they
congratulations.
are. They're like, you only had 5 this week. Good job.
But our approach is fundamentally like, we don't think there's anything wrong with cookies, and I don't even think there's anything wrong with like mindless scrolling, like if you need a break. But I think what we're trying to do is we're just trying to take the crack out of the cookies so that they're just normal cookies that you can have a healthy relationship with. And I think that's very much like the inoculation strategy that you're talking about.
I like the metaphor, take the crack out of the cookie. Yes.
But there's also something else that you said that I wanted to touch on. Oh, the shorts, right? So
Oh, micro
yeah,
messages.
the micro messages, which is that like an official term? Like that's what they're called.
My PhD co-author uses it. Maybe it is. I don't know.
You guys can make it official. Um, I mean, I think that's so much it. So, like, I watched a video the other day where somebody described it as essentially scrolling through shorts is like scrolling through emotions, which, like, I thought was like a beautiful way to phrase it because it's like
Yeah,
literally, and I had already coined a term for this too before I watched this video. I called it emotional whiplash. It's like you're not meant to see like war in Palestine and then like funny cat video and then like whatever.
it is emotional whiplash. Yeah.
What I really wanted to come here to ask you about today was like, broadly speaking, I want to cover two topics. What are your thoughts around the relationship between humans and modern technology in the world? Like what's good and what's bad? And then the second thing I want to ask is like, what is your personal relationship with technology?
Interesting. So I'm in the AI space, so I've been thinking about this a lot, as I'm sure a lot of people are. So I think personally, I love new technology. So I personally am very pro technology and I love AI. I think it's so cool. I do think that technology, like all tools, is complex. And I think that humans are not always equipped with the right ability to manage it. And so I think that the effect of technology on humans is very related to the humans' resources at that time and how emotionally depleted are they? Do they have a lot of resources in managing themselves? And I think that in the best scenario, humans are doing really well and we use technology as something to further our own objectives, right? Like I've been doing a lot of research into the romantic era. And it's particularly, I found some interesting pieces about how Steve Jobs was really influenced by the romantics when he created Apple. And so the romantic era is like late 1700s, early 1800s. And so it's like this era of poets post-industrial revolution. And it's a lot of writing and engagement with these ideas of technology as the industrial revolution is pushing forward. And so for me, like the idealistic version for me of what should be with humans and technology is I think that it's really holding on to technology as a tool in order to accomplish something, but I don't know that that's actually what's happening. Because even in my life, I have to really like set a goal around my use of technology. Otherwise, like if I blink and I'm very passively using technology, I blink and I've done nothing I want to be doing. You know what I mean? Like I don't think we all dream of like scrolling on Instagram for all our free time, right? That's not the plan. No one grows up and says, "My dream is to consume every single thing everyone posts on Instagram."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like no one wants it, but there is something we want from Instagram, right? There's something in it that we want. And for me, I'm like, well, I think it's connection with other people. I think we're all a little lonely. And I think that Instagram gives us the best access to people that sometimes we have because a lot of the opportunities for interaction with people they're hard. They're not as easy. It's a lot easier for me to watch what people are doing than to actually go interact with them. Like people are hard. I also think that like we all want to know what's going on. Like we're all kind of curious about the world, and so we want to know what's happening. We want to know like there are things that are important to us that and communication technology is the specific technology that connects all the humans together. Um, so like for me personally, I think that I have an ideal for what I want to be with technology, and I've probably spent more time than a lot of people writing it down because it's kind of my business brand that I've written, which is centered in the romantic period and like basically like for me what it means to be human is something I've studied a lot. For me it means looking at obviously your quality of life of what it means to be human in terms of spending time with family and doing things that are like very present and very contributing to yourself, like of your joy and your happiness and connection with other people. There's also for me human also nods to a craft, like there is something that happens when humans create that is not just the output, it is a transformation. So for me, that's another thing that is important to me in regards to technology is understanding what the end goal is. I I think what technology can be is not the same as what it is, which is kind of sad. Like I see a lot of dissonance between what people want it to be and what it actually is in their lives, including mine. Like my screen time numbers are not really reflective of a lot of the things I say I want. Um, and that's why I own a brick, right? My husband bricks it every day when he goes to work. He's like, just like he goes to school, his PhD. So I don't know. It's like it's an interesting thing where in some ways technology gives humans exactly what they wanted. You know what I mean? Like everyone's like, oh, evil technology, evil algorithm. And I'm like, dude, the algorithm is giving you exactly what you want.
True.
It's because you looked at it, you scrolled. The algorithm is like, yeah, we can talk about like evil billionaire overlords like trying to like control us all or like trying, I don't know, there's people talking. But for me, generally speaking, the algorithm is giving me exactly what I want more of, but it's not giving me what I consciously want more of. It's giving me what I subconsciously want more of, which is really what the algorithms have locked in reading the bio, like the markers of like eye tracking eyes or like time watched. Because even if I'm scrolling, like sometimes I'll be like, I'm tired of this content. I need to reset my algorithm. I'll just do some like, I just need to stop. But it's hard for me because I see a video and I stop. And if I stop for 3 seconds, the algorithm picks up and I'm like, no, gosh, dang it. I just undid all of my scrolling. Like, go away. And so it's hard because I think that humans are constantly in battle between what their conscious and subconscious wants. And I think algorithms are better at picking up what the subconscious wants in some ways than even humans are. And I think that's really hard for humans to reconcile when, like, maybe I do want more of that content in some ways, but I know that I shouldn't. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's fun to watch it, but I shouldn't. But also, like, but it's giving it more to me. And so I don't know, I think it takes a very large degree of self-control and awareness and emotional health too, in order to not let yourself escape through things like social media. Because if you're stressed, it just is a lot easier. Anyways, that's my spiel.
As the process of writing out like a whole list of principles that this company is going to stand for, and one of those principles revolves around comfort and versus discomfort. And I think it's interesting to hear you say, like technology is giving us exactly what we want. Um, but not to go super nerdy, but like, are you familiar with this concept of like a local minimum versus a
Yes.
global minimum? It's basically like, technology is keeping us trapped in a local minimum, or it's like it's keeping us
Yeah.
trapped in this state of comfort, but it's
Yeah.
but that local minimum is also like we're prisoners of it. It's allowing us to be comfortable enough that we don't have to think about what we actually want in life and what we actually aspire to be.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how you talk about it in the terms of like what we subconsciously want versus what we consciously want. I would actually argue that it wouldn't be the distinction between subconscious and conscious. I would argue that it's more about like automatic versus intentional.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you could totally argue that. I don't know that conscious subconscious was like super
yeah.
well thought out.
Tell me about in your life. You said you wrote out how you want to relate to technology. It sounds like you thought about it. Like, what do you want that relationship to be?
I would say I like I think like I want to use technology to get all the benefits of technology. Like for example, I'm an entrepreneur. I also want to be a writer. So like at the end of the day, my business is like not really my end goal. And I like writing. Like I love writing ideas. Like it's like the thing I want to be doing all the time. And so for me, technology is a tool to like create productivity that can help me achieve my goals. And so for me, things like AI and things like all the new tools, I'm like, heck yes, this means my one person business can stay one person and I don't need to hire five people. Amazing. Like, so that's kind of how I like to use it. And I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna go write a thing that previously would take me 10 hours and now it takes me two. I'm all about that. So that's how I like to use it. And I also that's like an AI perspective. And then I would say from a phone perspective and from a communications technology perspective, my goals around technology are to be a producer, not a consumer. And so my
Mm,
ratio of production consumption is in balance versus if I'm always consuming and never producing, I'm never actually getting the benefits because I like communication technology. I like communication technology just brings people together, right? And so it brings a lot of problems in terms of what happens when all the people get together, and that's complicated. And it brings a lot of questions of like, well, should I be reading what every single person in the world writes? Like, I can't. Like, it's not possible for me, Alecia, to read every single piece of news as it happens in real time. Like, there is a constraint on my time that means I can never actually be done, like your checklist analogy. So, I don't know. So my goals around technology are to say what are the intended benefits of the technology and how do I get them? I like to use technology because I like to keep in touch with pop culture. Like I used to be an event planner, so I'm just like I know all the top 20 songs that are trending. I know like I like to just know what's happening in the pulse. But also, well, how much value does come from knowing everything that's happening all the time? Like you have to really decide what is at what cost because in human life everything is finite, which means every choice I make is at the expense of another, right? So I don't know, that's like kind of high level, but I guess like that's my goal. So I'd like to use social media to be posting and connecting and building a personal brand and connecting with like-minded people who are cool. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking to you about technology today because you posted on a communications technology LinkedIn
right.
and I said, "Cool, I'll do it." Like so like I want that benefit, but in terms of like boundaries, I think my boundaries have been more around like what am I doing this at the expense of?
Sure.
And am I aware of that choice that I'm making? You know what I mean? Like I like spending time outside and being quiet. I like writing in my journal and reading real books and talking to my husband and walking the dog and going on a hike and writing my books at the end of the day because I'm like I have a list of books I want to write and like I keep complaining about not having time And I look at my screen time count and I'm like, time is not the problem. It's actually for me, vitality is the problem because I make choices because I'm tired and stressed. It's not because I don't have time. I have plenty of time to do everything I ever want to do. I have a vitality problem because I am making bad choices. I am tired and I'm scrolling for an hour. I am not doing things that take a lot of work because a lot of these amazing things I want to do are hard and they take a lot of work. Like I'm writing a book. I love writing books and I hate my books. My book takes so long and we're at the end and so we're like out of the fun part. There are no more fun ideas to be had. And now we're just in the part that sucks where we have to just sit and write it. And so it's sometimes hard for me to choose that when it is hard. And so but then I end up choosing things that I don't want and then after time I'm like, oh well I just waste like I don't even want to know how much time I've wasted in 2025 on my phone. You know what I mean? Like it's
Sure.
like scary numbers. So yeah.
I'm super intrigued by the fact that you use vitality as kind of that word to describe kind of like the limitation. Can you dig into that a little bit? Is it
Uh
really just kind of energy, in your opinion, that you're trying to get at, or is there something deeper there?
maybe. I mean, I don't I have to look up like what exactly the word vitality
Yeah,
means.
I'm not asking for like a definitional thing. I mean, like, what does that mean to
What
you?
like
Like,
what it
like,
means.
like
Um
when you say vitality is the bottleneck for you, what does that mean to you?
I mean, for me vitality is like it is energy. Like it's energy and ambition. So there's like a physical element to it. There's also a mental health element to
Sure.
it cuz if I feel anxious or stressed, I don't always like I don't always want to engage with that right now. Like for example, my book is being very stressful. And so like it saps me in a way where I'm like, I can go work on this project. I need to dig through a lot of ideas and complicated things. And this just seems very difficult. Like it seems like an uphill mountain to climb, right? And so to do what I want to do requires an uphill mountain to climb. And I myself I am tired and I don't want to do it, right? And so I think that's what I mean by vitality, meaning
Mm,
I'm going to choose the easy path, which is I am tired, so I'm going to open my phone for 20 minutes. And I think the other thing with phones is and social media is that it it takes almost no energy to just open it. Like you never get on your phone planning to be there for 45 minutes.
yeah.
You're like, I'll just look at a couple things and then the time passes. Whereas to do something productive for me usually requires a certain level of ambition and like I'm gonna go write a thing. Like I'm gonna go like even reading a book requires more ambition, like commitment. Like if I'm in the middle of my workday as an entrepreneur and it's like a bad day, I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to be here. I don't have any coworkers. I am sitting in a room by myself all day. This sucks. I'm not gonna commit to read a book because I'm supposed to do something else, but I might say it's fine, only 5 minutes on my phone. And for some reason, I'm making these trade offs. And for some reason, I wasn't willing to go read a book and I was willing to open my phone. Either way, 30 minutes passes. I could have read a book and I just sat here on my phone. And so for me, like, it's just that social media is often, it's like the cookies with crack thing where it's like, this thing that you want in disguise, like it's the easy path. Like it's always the easiest path, first of all. So when you're tired, it's so easy to choose it. And so for me, like I say, time's not the restriction, it's vitality. Because like when I look at my phone time numbers and counts and I look at my life, I don't have kids. So like I think that changes when you have kids and suddenly time actually is, you're like, I have no time for anything. But for me, as like I'm married with a dog, I have my work, but like I basically do my work and I write my books. And that is what I have chosen that I want to be doing. And my husband and I, we do our routines and our walks and whatever. But like for me, it's just I have the time. Like I can apparently find time to spend endless hours on social media, right? For my husband's YouTube or Reddit. Like I just think if everyone looked at their phone and they're like, "Oh, I'm spending 5, 10, 20 hours on social media a week," then your time is not your problem. The question is, why are you choosing to spend it that
Mm,
way? Because we all tell everyone, "Oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I don't have time to X. I don't have time to write my book. I don't have time to go see a friend this week. I don't have time to do this. I'm so slammed. I'm so busy." But for some reason, we all make time for the phone. Like,
mm.
why is that? So for me, it's like, well, if time is available somehow, like we apparently all make time for things that we want to do, then it's a matter of like being in that moment of choice. Like, what is in that moment of choice causing you to choose something that you is not what you said you wanted, right?
There's so much here, and I feel like so like you say vitality. For me, honestly, I feel like like time. I feel like is never the bottleneck. It's always energy for me.
Yeah,
And to
energy
me,
is a good way of saying it too. Yeah.
so I've been writing a whole long list of like what's missing in the modern world, and I think one of the most important thing that's missing in the modern world is true rest.
Yeah.
I think that what's happening is essentially there's this undercurrent of constant stress, like this constant like micro stress, which
Yeah.
is just not how we were designed to function. Because like I think stress is actually very good, and I would actually argue that what we need in life is more stress. And what I mean by that is that
Yeah.
we need to complete full stress cycles. What I mean by that is how we're meant to experience stress is we're meant to have acute stress, like you see
Right.
a bear, you're physically activated, then you
Right.
run, and then so you physicalize that stress, and
Yeah.
then the stress is done, and then you experience deep rest. And that is what I would consider like a true
A
stress
stress
cycle.
cycle.
But what has happened is we are now in a state where it's just we have this constant, I don't know if it's just noise, but it's like because there is so much that we think that we're missing out on, or we know so much about the world. Like our circle of concern has grown so much larger than our circle of influence.
Right.
And you know, we are like constantly reachable. We have constantly things that we should be doing. That I
Right.
feel like the fundamental thing is actually like when I think about the moments when I like just start doom scrolling or just like wasting time, it's really because I'm tired. I'm either tired or I'm trying to avoid something. Like those are the two
Right.
things. But I feel like more often than not, like that fatigue is actually um like I genuinely believe that not being able to experience true rest is one of the most fundamental problems in the modern world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean that clouds everything. Like it clouds not just your energy to be able to make the choices you want, but it also just like clouds your thinking and like your ability to even be clear about like what you actually want to do. Um,
I agree. I agree. I think we often use social media as a pseudo rest. It's an escape, but there's no
mm,
rest. And so we like think we just relaxed for 30 minutes, but there wasn't any relaxation happening.
exactly. Because we're never giving ourselves time to actually, like, you know, like if you, I feel like this would be very obvious if you thought about the brain as a muscle. Like, you know, like in terms of like what it means to rest. So, you know, like if you went to the gym and you were like lifting weights and then you saw like what doom scrolling is like you literally over there just like with 15 pounds just continually lifting it. Maybe it's just like really light, but like you're
Yeah.
never actually resting that muscle. Like I feel like that's what's happening with the brain is that we're not giving it time to literally just digest your thoughts. Like you talked about like this difference between consumption and production. I would actually argue that there's a third aspect here, which is actually what I would consider like
Rest.
rest or like marination. You know, like I say that I love to like marinate on my thoughts and like allow those thoughts to really percolate and
Yeah.
process them. And I feel like without that, like yeah, it just like creates a lot of problems.
Yeah. Well said.